I have watched traffic enforcement evolve this way before, not through public campaigns, not through legislative debates, through administrative rule changes buried in state transportation code updates, through technology deployments that shift enforcement from discretionary stops to automated detection, through the gradual conversion of warnings into primary violations that generate revenue streams state budgets begin to depend on. 10 distinct categories of driving regulations changed across multiple states between January and December 2026. Not all changes apply in all jurisdictions, but the pattern is consistent. Enforcement is becoming automated, penalties are increasing, and behaviors previously tolerated now generate citations with financial consequences most drivers were not expecting. The first change concerns hands-free phone requirements. 38 states now prohibit handheld phone use while driving. In 2026, 17 states reclassified phone use as a primary offense. Officers can now stop you solely for holding a phone. Fines increased simultaneously. What was a $50 secondary citation became a $250 primary violation in states like Georgia, Florida, and Texas. The enforcement shift matters more than the legal change. Police departments deployed AI-assisted cameras that detect phone use through windshields. The systems use machine learning to identify the distinctive posture and hand position of drivers holding phones. New York City's system generated over 4,000 citations monthly by mid-2026. Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, and Atlanta are deploying similar systems by early 2027. The second change involves speed enforcement through AI-powered cameras and average speed detection systems. Traditional speed cameras photograph vehicles at a single point. Average speed systems calculate your speed between 2 points by recording your license plate at entry and exit, then dividing distance by time. Maryland, Virginia, and Oregon authorized average speed enforcement in 2026. You can no longer slow down for known camera locations and speed between them. The system measures your entire journey through the enforcement zone. On Interstate 95 through Maryland, if you cover 23 miles in less than 21 minutes, you averaged over 65 and receive a citation. The cameras operate 24 hours daily with no warnings. The third change dropped the legal blood alcohol limit from 0.08 to 0.05 in Utah, Washington, and Hawaii. Oregon, Colorado, and Vermont have legislation pending for 2027. 1 or 2 drinks can now put most adults over the legal limit. A 160-pound person who consumes 2 standard drinks within an hour will likely test between 0.04 and 0.06. That was legal in 2025. It is now a DUI in 3 states. Law enforcement increased DUI checkpoints and deployed portable breath testing devices. The lower limit means more arrests, more court appearances, more legal fees, and more drivers facing consequences that were not criminal violations under previous standards. The fourth change implemented real-time insurance verification systems. In 2026, 11 states deployed integrated systems that verify active insurance coverage in real time when license plates are scanned. Automated license plate readers mounted on patrol cars and fixed infrastructure now scan every vehicle they encounter. If the scan detects an uninsured vehicle, the system alerts the officer or generates an automated citation. Florida implemented this statewide in March 2026. Within 6 months, uninsured vehicle citations increased by 237%. First offense ranges from $150 to $500. Second offense within 12 months reaches $1,000 and triggers automatic license suspension. The fifth change expanded move-over laws. In 2026, the requirement extended to any vehicle with hazard lights activated, including disabled civilian vehicles on the shoulder. Enforcement has been aggressive. Officers position disabled vehicles on busy highways and monitor passing traffic, citing drivers who fail to change lanes or slow to the posted reduced speed. Move-over violations range from $200 to $500 for first offenses. In Virginia, the fine reaches $350 plus 3 points on your license. Some jurisdictions installed cameras near frequent breakdown locations that automatically detect violations. The sixth change prohibits license plate covers and frames that obscure any portion of the plate or registration stickers. Tinted covers, decorative frames, and any device that makes the plate less than perfectly visible became prohibited in 23 states during 2026. Automated plate readers scan for obscured plates by analyzing image clarity scores. When clarity falls below the threshold, the system flags the vehicle for citation. In California, total cost exceeds $400. In Texas, $200 plus court costs. In New York, $300. These are not warnings. First offense generates a full citation. And because plate readers are ubiquitous, a single obscured plate generates multiple citations as different readers scan the same vehicle over days or weeks. The seventh change lowered speed limits in school zones and implemented automated enforcement. The 2026 changes extended enforcement hours to cover all times schools are in session. Automated cameras were installed in school zones in 18 states. The cameras activate based on school calendars, detecting speed violations throughout the school day. Exceeding the school zone limit by 1 to 10 miles per hour generates a $250 fine. Exceeding by 11 to 20 miles per hour reaches $500. Over 20 miles per hour becomes reckless driving, a misdemeanor criminal charge in many states. The eighth change deployed roadside emissions, scanning systems that detect vehicles with modified exhaust systems or excessive emissions. The technology uses infrared sensors and spectroscopy to analyze exhaust composition as vehicles pass. The systems identify vehicles emitting pollutants above legal thresholds, without requiring the vehicle to stop. When a violation is detected, the system photographs the license plate and generates a notice requiring the owner to submit the vehicle for emissions testing within 30 days. Failure to comply triggers escalating penalties. The initial notice includes a $100 fine. If the vehicle is not tested within 30 days, the fine increases to $300. After 60 days, registration renewal is blocked until compliance is verified. The systems are currently operating in California, Colorado, Maryland, and Washington, primarily in urban areas with air quality concerns, but deployment is expanding. The technology costs less than traditional emissions testing stations and generates revenue through non-compliance fines while identifying gross polluters who avoid periodic testing. The ninth change imposed annual fees on electric vehicles to compensate for lost gas tax revenue. As EV adoption increases, states face declining fuel tax collections that fund road maintenance. In 2026, 14 states implemented or increased annual EV fees. The amounts vary considerably. Washington charges $225 annually. Illinois charges $250 for full electric vehicles and $100 for plug-in hybrids. Texas charges $400 for vehicles over 10,000 pounds, which includes many electric trucks and SUVs. The fees apply at registration renewal. EV owners who are accustomed to lower operating costs due to no fuel purchases now face annual fees that partially offset those savings. The justification is straightforward. Road funding depends on usage-based taxation, historically collected through fuel taxes. EVs use roads but pay no fuel tax, creating a fairness issue. But the fee structure is controversial because it charges the same amount regardless of miles driven, meaning a vehicle driven 5,000 miles annually pays the same as one driven 30,000 miles. The 10th change tightened restrictions on young drivers through graduated licensing modifications. 19 states implemented or strengthened provisions limiting teenage drivers. The changes include extended learner permit periods, increased minimum supervised driving hours before licensing, stricter passenger restrictions during the provisional license phase, and nighttime driving curfews extended from 11 p.m. to 10 p.m. in several states. Violations of graduated licensing restrictions now generate points on the provisional license, and accumulating points triggers automatic suspension. The enforcement shifted from warnings to citations. Previously, officers often used discretion when encountering young drivers in technical violation of passenger or curfew restrictions, particularly if the violation was minor and the driver was otherwise compliant. In 2026, departments implemented policies treating graduated licensing violations as mandatory citations. The fines are lower than adult violations, typically $75 to $150, but the license consequences are more severe. 2 violations within 12 months trigger suspension. 3 violations requires retaking the driver test. The cumulative effect of these 10 changes is the creation of an enforcement infrastructure that generates citations at volumes impossible under traditional human officer enforcement. Automated systems do not sleep, do not exercise discretion, and do not issue warnings. They detect violations and generate citations continuously. A driver who would have received 2 or 3 tickets annually from officer stops in 2025 might receive 8 or 10 automated citations in 2026 for behaviors that were previously tolerated. The financial impact is substantial. The average citation, including fees and assessments, ranges from $250 to $400. A driver receiving 8 citations annually faces $2,000 to $3,000 in traffic fines. That does not include insurance increases triggered by points on the license. Most states assess points for moving violations. Accumulating points increases insurance premiums, sometimes doubling rates for drivers with multiple violations within 3 years. The changes also create enforcement asymmetry. Automated systems are deployed primarily in urban areas where dense traffic and infrastructure support the technology. Rural drivers face lower automated enforcement density and continue experiencing traditional officer discretion. This creates a geographic disparity where urban drivers receive significantly more citations for identical behavior compared to rural drivers. The revenue implications are also concentrated. Cities deploying automated enforcement see dramatic increases in traffic citation revenue, which becomes embedded in budget projections and creates institutional dependence on continued citation volumes. I have watched this pattern before. Not the sudden transformation of traffic enforcement through comprehensive reform, but the incremental deployment of technology that automates detection, eliminates discretion, and converts behaviors that were once subject to officer judgment into violations that generate automated revenue. The laws did not change dramatically. The enforcement capacity changed. And when enforcement capacity increases by an order of magnitude through automation, the practical effect is indistinguishable from criminalizing behaviors that were previously tolerated. The 10 changes outlined here are not final. They are the beginning of a shift toward comprehensive automated traffic enforcement that will continue expanding as technology improves, and budget pressures incentivize municipalities to capture more citation revenue. The era of officer discretion is ending. The era of algorithmic enforcement has arrived, and drivers who are unaware of the changes will discover them through citations in the mail.